Now, the Association of Licensed Telecoms Operators in Nigeria says that by removing multiple taxes on their industry, telecom companies can reduce part of the operational pressure they are under. With the help of regulatory intervention, it's possible that the current pricing regime for calls and data will continue. That's, of course, according to the association. They're looking away how the government can intervene. Well, let's get talking right away. Mr. Olusegun Okwande is Chairman Ikeja District Society of ICANN. He joins us now to look at the call by the telcos proposing that there should be a tax review to avert 40% tariff hike, which is being proposed on the call, data, and SMS. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate your time. Let me start, Kwandi.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, thank you for your time. I mean, what do you make of? First, let's start from the proposed 40% tariff hike by telcos, the operators. They are asking that any moment from now there will be an increase in the tariff from calls, SMS, and data. But since then, I think there have been agitation or backlash concerning that cause. But now they're asking the government to review the multiple taxation that they have to pay to reduce this pressure. What do you have to say in all of this development?
Thank you very much, Frank, for having me this morning. And good morning to our viewers once again.
Good morning.
It will be good for us to have understanding of the major components of what the telcos are actually using in delivering their services to the people. First and foremost, you talked about the equipment they are using. Majority of some of those things are import-based. They are not locally made. And what does that tell you? It goes through the foreign exchange. And you and I know what the cry we've been having in the last few years about the level at which the foreign exchange has actually been going up. All the component gets to the level of even the tools that they build, the fabrication of some of these iron are import-based. So that is first area we must look into. The government should give them a safe landing. Number two, that is very strategic to their service delivery is power. Power is very key. They need to have power supply in their site 24/7. And what are the major components? We have the national grid, we have the alternative power supply, which is the generating set. And the reason why this thing has actually skyrocketed in recent time is not far-fetched from the increase in the price of diesel. You and I understand while it was 180, 190, everybody is still managing up their scope. But there are remote areas where we don't even have the national grid for them to connect to. And it's pretty difficult that they must provide services in those areas. So what do they resort to? They resort to power, which is diesel. And alternatively, go for solar. And you understand what the cost of solar is if they must set up these things. So these two areas are very key if we are talking about the reason for the increase in those prices. Like I heard the other time, the operating cost when it comes to diesel has risen with over 233 percentage. So if you are able to address this, I think the area where they are going to is minimal compared to those other areas when they are talking of multiple taxation. We understand this, and it's not only the telcos that are actually facing that. It's cut across all businesses, and most of the time, we tend to match levies by the so-called people in the environment to be taxes. You know, when you go to areas which I don't want to go to, the way they tax this individual before they set up their grid is really something that is difficult. But I think the first two key areas are strategic if they must control their cost.
Well, I mean, point taken on some of the things you listed, the issue of power, you also have operational cost rising from the cost of diesel and all of that. But we'll come to that in a moment. But let's dwell on what they have raised, the issue of tax review, which they say that it has to be reviewed. They call it multiple taxation. So, I mean, you are an accountant. Do we really have multiple taxation in the telecom sector?
Yeah, well, I will say that to me, there are no multiple taxation. They are entitled to pay the company income tax that is attributable to every organization, which is 30%, the educational tax, which is obtainable for everyone, the value added tax, which is obtainable. I was reading that they have a certain percent, I think 1% of some certain things too that they pay. But those are the normal taxes that every organization pay. But the area where they concentrate more, which most of the time they take in cognizance to be taxes, are levies by community areas, levies by local government, levies by states, you know, that are amounting. I know for Lagos State, there is what we call this issue of towards an infrastructure tax that they pay. They are taxes, but at the same time, it's for the state. But the ones that are accruable, even to the federal government as we speak, are the standard one that every company makes sure that they pay. So when we look at it, it is just the key importance that most people give to these people. You know, they have high rise towards, even when the component that actually bring the supply is very small. I remember having interaction with some of them. They go ahead and put a big transformer when they can even tap supply from the community. So it attracts a lot of people, levying them. Community will come and say, before you can set anything up here, you must pay this certain amount. And where do you put that to in accounting? It goes to the area of taxes and levies that they are saying. So I think if there are areas that some of these things can be cautioned, really, we know there are multiple taxation on their part, but majority of them are not legal. They are illegal compared to what we call the legal taxes that they are expected to pay.
Then if how do you ensure, how do you think we can ensure that I mean, they are not, they don't fall you know, victims of having to pay the same tax they pay to different agencies of the government? And how do we create a harmony or a seamless platform where these collectible taxes can be monitored, and which of the agencies of the government is responsible for each of these taxes collected?
Yeah, I think everyone is just trying to have a catch up on the telecom, considering the fact I remember working with them, and people will tell you, are they not the people that I will make call and it will drop, they will charge me? Are we not going to have a bite of some of those things? Thinking, you know, attributing some service failure to them being exploited, and they feel they can have a batch of some of those things. As I speak to you, the states on their own look for a way to generate revenue. And the only way they can do that is to create maybe another class of tax, even to be charged by them. But for the FIRS, the standard tax expected of every organization is what they are paying. But each state comes up with different taxes, but it doesn't go in line with what the federal government is charging. Take, for example, the infrastructure or tax. That has to do with the infrastructure that they have at that particular location, which they call their base station. That is not in line with CIT. It's not in line with the education tax that is accruable to the FIRS. So these are some of the things that everyone do to have a catch up with. If they can have an understanding with some of these things, I think they will have understanding, and federal government will streamline it to those things. It's nice that they are coming out to make the noise. At least they can have a listening ear with the federal government on some of the things that they need to do. But I think it's the state and the local government that is trying to have a fair share of their revenue also to develop themselves.
Okay, let's wrap up with this. I mean, there's also a proposal to increase the tariff call as well, the tariff on calls, data, and SMS as well. I mean, how do you think we can ensure that this doesn't impact much on the masses or the subscribers? Because, of course, subscribers association have kicked against this as well. So let's wrap it up in the next 1 minute.
I think we need to just balance the act. The increase is really justifiable if you look at what the operation cost is saying. And it's a boil down to the system failure on the part of the government. You don't expect to kill the business. If the business are dead, what will the employee do? It's getting to the level that they are finding it difficult to pay even their staff salary. So I feel government on their part should do what is needful to make sure that the businesses survive, so that when they survive, they will be able to give what is expected even to the populace and the citizen at large. But to balance the act, I think the call for it is justifiable because they need to remain in business.
I think we need to leave it there. Thank you so much, Mr. Olusegun Okwande. He is the chairman, Ikeja District Society of ICANN. We appreciate your time on Business Breakfast.
Thank you very much, Frank, for having me, and good morning to all our viewers.
Have a great day.